Today I want us to look at how we can use states in our code to be able to implement or talk to our projects and functions. So let's create a counter component, okay, where we can increment or decrement a count. Okay, so I already called it on the main component, on the parent component. So we have to create a file here, and we're gonna name it counter.jsx. Okay, so inside our counter child component, we're going to have a function, and this function we're going to name it counter, and what we're going to do is we're going to use state. So first things first, we have to import state. Okay, so I just imported the React useState, and we still have our function, our counter function. So what we need to do now is we need to use the useState. How we do that is we will use a const, and in our const we're going to have a variable and a set to the variable. Okay, I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's call it count. And first thing that we do, we're going to say set and our name of our variable, count. So what happens if we want to change our count, we cannot change the variable itself, we'll get an error. What we have to do is we have to change the set count. So this set count is a function. It will always start with the set. Okay, so it's declared by its value, right? So now we're going to set this to our useState. Okay, and let's set this to 0. Okay, and that's how you actually declare a useState function. Now what we need to do is we need to make our function return something so we can actually see. So we are going to have a return, and inside our return we're going to have a div, and in this div we want to see our count. So let's say count, and use curly brackets to call our count. So just displaying our number, whatever we increment or decrement, we want to be able to see this happening. And what we need to do now is we need to add our button. Okay, and our button, this is where we're going to increase. Now in order to implement our increase and to be able to add 1 so that we can increase from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have to use the onClick. Okay, so it's onClick property. Okay, now this property we have to use an arrow function. We're going to take an arrow function, and this arrow function is going to set the default to not refresh. Okay, I'll show you what I mean in a minute. And we're going to call our set count, and we're going to increase by 1. So every time you click the button, it's going to increase by 1. Okay, and we can do the same thing for the decrease. Okay, so we can say we can have another button here, button, and we are now decrease decrease. Okay, so we're going to have an on-click event, and on this on-click event we're going to have an arrow function. This arrow function is going to return our set count, and our set count is going to return our count minus 1. Okay, so that's pretty much the whole thing. And at the end of it all, we must export our function. So export default, our name of our function is counter. Okay, so now when we run this function, we have right here, we have our counter paragraph where we can see, and when you click on the increase, it can go up. When you click on decrease, it should go down. So this is how we actually use and implement our useState. Okay, that's how you can actually use useState. It makes it easy to set things to functions without having any issues with React.